For the second installment of this series, I'll be focusing not on an entire episode that stood out as being very effective, but just this opening scene from the 4th episode of Occultic 9, coming in at just under 3 minutes. While Occultic 9's status as one of the most watched shows of the season going by Mal would seem to make the judgment of this scene as hidden somewhat dubious, the series quickly plunged below a 7 rating on that site, likely due in no small part to its incredibly fast-paced and hectic first episode. I honestly found that one pretty interesting and entertaining. But as it's gone on, Occultic 9 has had a ton of different ideas, concepts, and potential directions come up, none of which have really been stuck to and developed sufficiently for me to find them too engaging. One such concept that got me excited, especially after this scene specifically, was the concept of media and the role it plays in the dissemination of information and ideas throughout society. Our main character being a blogger who chronicles the occult, whose father we will come to learn was a radio broadcaster himself, certainly opens this up as an avenue of exploration. And as someone who was once a political science major, and as such has watched a good deal of television news in my day, the news coverage of this shocking tragedy that begins the episode was really fascinating. We open on a dark, sober scene, with what appears to be a few dozen bodies floating to the surface of a lake. And then with an excellent wipe transition, a news helicopter brings this scene into the light of day. Chasing after the sound of that helicopter's blades, a drumroll cues the entrance of a fantastic high-energy track that's propelled forward by some overdriven guitars, and that energy is matched by the fast-paced commentary of the reporter covering this event from the air. The scene of this event is in chaos, throngs of news teams, police, a massive gathered crowd with smartphone cameras rolling, and piles of corpses. Taken aback by this frenzy, a member of the team at the occult publication Mumu watching this coverage unfold wonders aloud if it's okay to show corpses like this. A number of people in various comment sections, Reddit threads, and forum posts questioned the choice of music here, or outright criticized it as jarring. I did see some praise for it, as the sense of discomfort was pretty clearly the intent, and a worthwhile one in my eyes. Having watched the coverage of events like the Ferguson protests and ensuing riots, and the Boston Marathon bombings live on television as they unfolded, this scene manages to capture that sensation of media frenzy with remarkable effectiveness. The comment, "There are many bodies that seem to be of women and children as well," because of course that makes things more tragic. The fetishization of the exact number and body counts, with them feeling the need to share their estimates of exactly how many are yet to be uncovered, and the woman they put on merely because she apparently witnessed the event, when she borders on incomprehensible and is certainly sharing almost nothing of value.
Guys, you gotta come to us. Listen, okay, we also have a huge caravan, a huge Jake, John.
But the up-to-the-minute coverage just kept coming.
A couple of cars are now beginning to move. You've got cars going straight. You've got cars peeling to the right. A number of the vehicles just pulled out. We hear one of the canine dogs barking. Interesting, that dog is barking. We can smell, there was something in the air. That's at least the 3rd canine dog. They began barking very, very loudly. So they may be smelling what we thought we smelled.
Let me tell you a little something about canine dogs. I got one of them, and they bark a lot. It was a noble effort, and you know, keep going. It'll get better. Any final thoughts?
Being in Watertown right now, the streets are empty. It's eerie. It's as though a bomb had dropped somewhere.
All of these are representative of our own cable news culture. My favorite example being CNN attempting to play up the weight of the appearance of someone they were allegedly bringing into a discussion via satellite on their program, until you notice the cars driving by in one person's box appearing in the other's moments later, revealing them to actually be set up right next to each other in the same parking lot as they film. Made all the more comical by one of them really trying to sell it as she pushes on her earpiece because apparently she's having trouble hearing the woman who's 10 feet away from her. It's the obsessive focus on showiness over substance, spectacle over insight, and it's conveyed brilliantly by this scene. This scene has something else going on much more subtly though, that you'll likely only notice upon rewatching it after having reached one of the show's major twists. Something I only discovered in revisiting the scene for this video. This event, which will come to be known as the 256 incident after the number of casualties involved, including this young woman who arrives to the office out of breath, died in. In fact, she's the first person to have died that we see attempting to interact with others, who cannot see or hear those who have died, and that becomes more clearly apparent to the characters in the ensuing episodes. Lacking that knowledge ourselves at this point as well, it is easy to go through this scene without suspecting much though. Beyond the general frantic pace helping towards that end, the television and the dramatic news being broadcast over it serves as an excellent excuse for them to not pay much attention to her, and for responses to her questioning to be interpreted merely as stunned, solemn silences, and not an inability to perceive her at all. As she runs out of the building, interpreting the chief's orders to have been referencing her as well, we get one last clue, with her stopping to use the door as a reflective surface with which to adjust her hair, but with that reflection not being visible to us. A classic hallmark of things like vampires and others related to the undead. Occultic 9's frantic directing turned many people off to the show, and in my eyes a lot of it ended up being largely style over substance. However, with as much talented staff as the series has had working on it, and it's been a surprisingly large number of them, there were bound to be at least some examples of strong craftsmanship. You can go check out the Sakuga blogs right up on the show to explore some of that interesting staff composition in more depth. This scene is an excellent example of frantic, information-dense directing being done right. Every element contributes to imbuing the 256 incident and its coverage with a remarkable trueness to life, and in doing so as blatantly as it does, also serves as a soft critique of those practices, at least from my standpoint. It then capitalizes on all of this to slip in some excellently done foreshadowing. You really couldn't ask for anything more out of the scene, even if you were left asking for much more out of the series as a whole. Here's where I ask for more out of you, my audience. If you'd like to support my work, please head over to my Patreon and join the likes of Goose, Chelsea Chester, Culver James Kamai, Wagner, and all of the other fine folks who are helping to make my full-time work on this content possible.